first, an update on the Drew Brees situation. This is from 4 minutes ago. Or actually, it's from a little bit longer. Okay, here it goes. From 12 minutes ago. It's from Ian Rappaport at RapSheet on Twitter. Saints quarterback Drew Brees suffered a rib contusion in yesterday's game. He'll have an MRI for cartilage damage today, but sources tell me and Tom Pelissero, should be Tom Pelissero and I don't know. The sources tell us that New Orleans is bracing for Brees to miss some time to fully heal. The latter part of that is the part to highlight. This idea of missing time to fully heal, because that was my big takeaway on the scary spectrum from yesterday with Brees, is that it wasn't like something like the thumb, right? The thumb was a clear injury, a clear timetable to return. That's something that you can really focus on and attack. And you saw Brees attack it. Remember all the jokes about him doing like those thumb exercises and like looking super intense, but that's the sort of intensity that he attacked that recovery with. Yesterday just felt like I'm old and my body is beat to hell by 20 years of playing in the NFL. Like, it was like I've been such a warrior for so long that finally my body was like, hey, man, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. I need a break. And Brees basically said that. He said it's no one thing. It's an accumulation of things. And so time is going to be your greatest ally. Wow. How ironic is that? Time is both Brees' greatest ally and greatest enemy at this point in his career, right? He has very precious little time left in the NFL, it would feel like, but he needs all the time he can get in order to recover, and he has to sacrifice some of that precious remaining time in order to recover, to maximize in the remaining leftover time. Anyway, I think that if we try to expand this a bit more long-term and we look at what it means to the Saints going forward, I think that this could definitely cost you the 1 seed. Now, Danny, bring up the Saints schedule real quick, because it's not a terrible stretch of schedule to go through this with. The Falcons, well, I mean, look, I already kind of sensed a 1-1 split with Drew Brees, and maybe this is me overvaluing Winston, but I actually don't know if I see that changing. I still feel like a 1-1 split is probably how these two Falcons games over the next 4 weeks will go down. But look, if I had to guess right now, just because the margins are so tight in trying to win that first seed in the NFC, I imagine that Drew Brees' injury, if he misses multiple games, I think it probably costs you the 1 seed. But I don't know if that's the worst thing in the world. As Musso pointed out, we were talking about over the commercial break, home field advantage means less than it ever did. I mean, the goal for the 1 seed is really to get the first round bye. But if you look at Super Bowl champions, you see Super Bowl champions all the time in the modern era that have not had that first round bye and have had to come through the wild card weekend. And you'll see even more now that only one team is going to be getting a bye on each side of the conference. So losing the 1 seed hurts, not as much as it would hurt in a normal football year. And so I guess the question for Saints fans becomes, if you get a fully healthy Drew Brees out of this, is it worth sacrificing that 1 seed? And is the value of a fully healthy Drew Brees extrapolated into the playoffs, is that value greater than the loss in value from not having him over the next couple of weeks? And as I sit here today, I'm tempted to say, yes, I think that I would willingly sacrifice the 1 seed, maybe like a 2 or 3 seed, whatever, if it means that you get a much more healthy Brees come playoff time. Because ultimately, that's what this is all about. It's all about that tournament at the end of the season. Is what this entire season has been building towards. The window is open. The roster looks tight. We're finally seeing the Saints defense look like it's supposed to. And I know correlation doesn't always equal causation, boys, but a lot of this feels like it has to do with the return of Marcus Davenport. And I know that he's not being, and I'm probably being a little too reductive there because everybody's playing well. But it's just that ever since he returned, the Saints D-line has felt overwhelming. And ever since the D-line's felt overwhelming, no surprise, the secondary has started to get it figured out. I mean, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was a terror yesterday, which, by the way, we need to get some injury updates on him. But he was a terror yesterday, being used in almost like a Matthew-esque Weapon X, put him wherever, playmaker type of fashion, and it paid huge dividends. Malcolm Jenkins continues to come on stronger and stronger after a rough beginning. Should have had 2 picks yesterday, ends the game with 1. Shout out P-Rob coming under the pick as well. And then we're just highlighting defensive stars. What more can you say about Demario Davis? I mean, Danny talked about his daughter dealing with some very serious health problems, being declared cancer-free. Shout out to you, Demario Davis. You are a legend both on and off the field. But yesterday on the field, he was masterful, dude. Play after play. And the tape that he is putting out, like if you're a young linebacker and you watch that Saints game, look at some of the plays Demario Davis is talking. You know how I'm always talking about how passive the LSU linebackers play? Do you want to see the inverse of that? Like the polar opposite? Look at the aggression that Demario Davis plays with, taking on blocks, not catching blocks, delivering the contact at the line of scrimmage. A lot of times, like keeping his inside shoulder, basically pinning the O-lineman, outside arm free to make the tackle. He was on another level yesterday. And while we're talking about guys who are playing out of their mind, David Onyemata is a terror in the middle right now. Nick Underhill calls him the Manitoba Mauler for good reason. Onyemata has been nothing short of spectacular. And again, ever since the return of Marcus Davenport, it looks like his game has stepped up to an even higher level. So between Cam Jordan, Trey Hendrickson, Davenport, Onyemata, Rankins, Malcolm Rhodes, Shai Tuttle, this is a Saints defensive line that is getting better and better and better. And ultimately, as you try to bridge this Breesless gap, the Saints defense will be the key, much like they were last season when you managed to go 5-0 with Teddy Bridgewater and company. And it's one of those things where sometimes in life, you don't know what you can really do until you are asked, or really until you are forced to do it. And you saw that with the Saints defense last year. All of a sudden, Breeze out. They know they have to play better. They improved. They got better. They found a way to get it done. The defense is going to have to do the same thing this year. I know you had some early season struggles, but you just can't afford it anymore. You're not going to be able to engineer comebacks in the same way you did early on. You're not going to be able to play through the mistakes that you did early on. So you got to raise your level of play. And they have. What was who had the red zone stat earlier, pre-show? Muso, was that Luke Johnson?
Luke Johnson, yes.
And what was it, essentially last 6 trips to the red zone? I think teams only scored 2 touchdowns?
2 touchdowns.
I mean, there you go. They were scoring at an 83% just a couple of weeks ago. So you're seeing market improvement in those key areas. One area of growth I still want to watch for this New Orleans Saints team is third down. Obviously, Drew Brees is going to take a hit. I still want a bit more of an impact from Mike Thomas. Of course, yesterday it looked like he had a big 3rd and 5 early on that Brees ended up sailing. But Mike Thomas will continue to round into form. And then look, we've talked so much about Brees, the defense, and all the other elements, but Alvin Kamara. I mean, once again, as a fan, what you want is for when your guy gets paid that they raise their level of play. You saw it last year with Mike Thomas. You're seeing it this year with Alvin Kamara. How could you not be happy with that contract? I mean, if you don't have Kamara, you've now won 6 games in a row. If you don't have Kamara, what's your record in those games? 3-3? Maybe even worse, potentially. I mean, he has been a godsend when you needed him most, and yesterday was no different, as he's just such a threat in so many different ways. Speed, balance, power, out of the backfield, screens, more traditional route running from a wide receiver position. Like, the man can truly do it all. And that's not even to get into his value as a decoy on Taysom Hill packages or anything else like that. And those are the type of guys that are going to have to step up in the absence of Drew Brees with Jameis Winston at quarterback. The same way that Mike Thomas did last year, helping out Teddy Bridgewater. Both Kamara and Thomas are going to have to be at their best if the Saints are going to make it through this. So it still feels this is still a Saints team that feels like they are able to accomplish all their goals. They just have to mitigate the damage of not having Drew Brees, stay afloat, maybe not in the 1 seed, but stay high enough so you get a home game or 2 in the playoffs, and then hopefully hope that you have a fully healthy Drew Brees ready to go when it matters most. All right, when we get back, let's get into the Urban Meyer sound, as I think it holds a lot of relevance for LSU, as well as what the firing of Will Muschamp means to the LSU Tigers. So just keep it locked right here. This is OTBOT on 104.5, 100.3, and 94.7 ESPN.
OTB, OT.